Welcome to Your Life Story, a space to explore the journey from survival to authenticity. I'm Sajine, and here we dive into the raw truths of breaking free from the expectations we've grown up with, rediscovering our voices, and thriving after life's challenges. But this isn't just about my story. It's about life, from relationships and self-discovery to the messy, beautiful questions we all face. No topic is off limits here. So if you're ready to embrace courage, healing, and living life on your own terms, you're in the right place. Let's connect. Let's grow. Welcome to the journey. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. I'm not a licensed therapist, counselor, or medical professional, and the content shared here is based on personal experiences and insights. If you're facing significant challenges, please seek the support of a qualified professional. Remember, your journey is unique, and you deserve the care and guidance that's right for you. Well, welcome. I am happy to have you here on my podcast. Please go ahead and save it, share it, because I think this is really important. It really is. Today's show is called When They Punish You for Choosing Yourself. This episode is for women who were punished for wanting basic human dignity. For years, I was told that my value depended on silence, compliance, and self-abandonment. When I began to heal, learn, and ask for respect, everything changed. The blame shifted onto me. The narrative was rewritten. I became the problem, not because I did wrong, but because I stopped accepting wrong. Today, we're talking about the quiet, hidden punishment that happens when a woman decides she is a human being. We will explore the moment dignity becomes threatening to others, why religious and family systems often protect the abuser, what it means to be smeared while healing, the loneliness and beauty of rebuilding your identity from zero, the steady emergence of your real self. If you're listening to this, you're not alone. Your story matters. You're not the villain for surviving. So I think this is just the point that we need. It's something that is painful, but we're going to make it because I'm glad you're here. Take a moment, wherever you're sitting, whatever today has asked of you, just arrive. There's no performance required in this space, no needing to be strong, no needing to pretend that everything is fine. This episode is for the women who began to heal and were punished for it. The women who didn't leave to chase excitement or escape responsibility. The women who didn't wake up one morning and say, I'm done. The women who simply started asking for basic dignity, respect, kindness, reciprocity, being spoken to like a human being. And the moment they asked for that, the entire world around them changed. That's what happened to me. I didn't break anything, betray anyone, look for someone new, stop loving. I just started seeing. I started healing, learning, listening to God for myself. I started hearing my own soul say, this isn't love, this is survival. And when I began to return to myself, he began to lose control. And that's when the devaluing began. Not suddenly, not in big, obvious explosions, but slowly and quietly, systematically. It began with sighs, with the tone, with the rolls of the eyes, with little comments that make you question your sanity. And if you're listening right now and your body just reacted, I know you know that feeling. The moment you start healing, something in the relationship shifts. Because your healing says, I'm a person and I matter too. And to someone who needs control, that is threatening. And so the world around you begins to respond. Family, church, friends, people who used to greet you with warmth begin to look at you differently. Not because you changed in someone worse. No, but because you stopped shrinking. For me, I remember something as simple as a magazine. Church magazine, for that matter of the fact. Something that should have been mine, addressed to me, was instead only sent to him because he was listed as head of household. And the message underneath that was loud, even though no one said it out loud. He matters. You're secondary. Even when I asked, they told me, nothing is wrong. You should be receiving it. But I wasn't, because my existence was not prioritized. When you begin to heal, you start to see those things, those little moments where the world revealed what it believed about you. The reason I say it is because just, I think, a year and a half ago, I started receiving those magazines again. And I was like, I think now that they supposedly are trying to get me back to say I'm sorry in a weird way, they're sending me those magazines. I don't need them. I have God. And when you begin to heal, you start to see those things, those little moments where the world revealed what is believed about you. And that is a moment many women are punished, not through physical force, but through indifference, withholding, smearing, isolation. You don't lose people because you became worse. You lose people because you became clear. So if you're here listening, maybe you're in that place too, where you're realizing, I didn't do anything wrong. I just stopped abandoning myself, and that was the threat. This space is for you. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're not the villain in your own story. You're a human being who wanted to be treated like one. And now we begin. Let's start with part 1. I'm sorry. Part 2. We just did part 1. I'm so excited about this show, I forgot about naming it. So part 2. The moment you began to wake up. There comes a moment in every woman's life where something shifts inside her. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, almost silently, like the first small crack in the wall that has been holding back everything you never had room to feel. For me, it began with a question, the kind of question that rises from the deep within the soul. Is this really love? Not the idea of love, not the performance of love, not the version of love that looks good from the outside, but real love, the kind that nourishes the heart and honors the spirit. I remember the day I realized I was lonely in my own home. Not alone, but lonely. And if you've been there, you know the difference. You can be in the same room, sharing the same air, the same schedule, the same daily rotation, and still feel unseen, unheard, and touched emotionally. I remember somebody telling me, Sajine, I believe you've always been a single mom. You've always been alone. And when I actually thought about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought that, but that's a sad reality. There's a specific kind of grief that comes when you realize your life is happening around you, but not with you. So I began to learn. I learned to read, pray, study, to sit with God, not through someone else's interpretation, but directly. I invite you, if you are my Christian followers, I invite you to start learning it on your own and not what is just regurgitated to you. It's amazing what we only get taught, maybe 10% of it, and 90% is what we find on our own. And when a woman begins to connect with God for herself, not through someone else's approval, not through the church's translation, not through a man's authority, her spirit returns to her. And that return is powerful. It is the point where the leadership begins to shift because you're no longer molding yourself to fit someone else's comfort. You're returning to your natural shape. And when I began to do that, it unsettled him. I didn't fight, I didn't yell, I didn't accuse. I simply began to require truth, consistency, mutual respect. And he couldn't meet that. Not because he was weak, incapable, but because he was never taught to love without control. So I don't think that was love then. And so instead of growing, he defended. Instead of softening, he hardened. Instead of meeting me where I was, he began to tear me down. Not because I changed into something worse, but because I began to heal into who I was always meant to be. This is where it often begins for many women. The healing is not what broke the relationship. The relationship was already breaking. The healing just revealed it. So if you're listening and you have felt that shift, that quiet knowing, that whisper inside saying, there's more to me than this. You're not wrong. You're waking up. You're not destroying your life. You're returning to it. And we are going to walk through this together. Part 3. The system that protected him. There's something that happens when a woman begins to wake up. Not just in relationship, but in systems around the relationship. Because the dynamics you lived in don't exist in isolation. They are reinforced. Why? By family, culture, belief system, tradition, by the spoken rules and the unspoken ones. When I started healing, I began to see the system too. And one of the systems that shaped my experience was the religious one. Not God, not faith, not the presence that held me when I was alone and breaking, but the structure people built around God. The structure that decided who mattered and who didn't. And in this structure, the head of household was always seen as the man, not because he earned the role, not because he led with integrity or compassion, but because the system needed a hierarchy. Someone at the top, someone beneath, someone silent. And when I asked, where am I in this? The answer, spoken or not, was always, you were second. And in the relationship, I was not second. I was a nobody. That message showed up everywhere, even in something as small as whose name was on the mailing list, even in who they believed first, even who they protected. The truck had more worth than I did. When I wasn't receiving what was meant for me, the answer was not to look deeper, to correct the record, to ask why. The answer was to assume he was the one who mattered, not because I was invisible, but because I was expected to stay that way. And I wanted to say this gently but clearly. Systems that depend on one person being small will always defend the person who benefits from the smallness. This is not about one church or one community or one pastor. It is about the way many structures have been built. If the woman begins to think for herself, and she begins to ask for respect, and she begins to say, I'm human too, then the entire structure shifts. I remember asking questions. I remember asking some really deep questions. And all that happened was they would go silent and look at me like I was some weird experiment, anomaly, new creature. And how dare I was asking for this. So these systems do this. So they do what they have always done. They protect him. They question you. They rewrite the story. They make the woman look unreasonable, unstable, dramatic, emotional, selfish. They do this not because it's true, but because it's necessary to keep the system intact. And when you are inside that system, it feels like betrayal from every direction. You lose community. You lose belonging. You lose the illusion of safety that once kept you silent. But what you do not lose, even when it feels like everything is falling apart, is yourself. In fact, that is the moment you begin to find her. The woman underneath all the expectations, the woman before the conditioning, the woman before the silencing, the woman who always knew, I was not created to disappear in my own life. We're going to talk about that woman next. The smear campaign and the loneliness of being misunderstood. Part 4. When a woman begins to return to herself, the person who relied on her silence has a decision to make. To grow with her or to protect the version of himself that requires her to stay small. And if he chooses the latter, the shift begins quietly. It starts with how he describes you to others. Not directly, not at first. It sounds like concern. She's struggling. She hasn't been herself. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to hold the family together. The language is gentle, reasonable, believable. And it works because it sounds like care. But underneath the message is this: if there's a problem, it is her. And eventually that message sharpens. She's unstable. She's selfish. She's the reason marriage is suffering. I tried to fix it, but she would listen. I remember hearing it very well when I had called for help, because I thought this individual was hurting themselves and they needed medical attention. When they arrived, all he said was, that douchebag of a wife, she won't let me take a nap. Changed the whole story and narrative and made me look like I was incompetent or that I was some evil wife. Why? Because over time, they will say, she's dangerous, she's the villain, she's the one who destroyed everything. This is not accidental, it is strategy. When someone is losing control of the narrative inside that relationship, they begin working to control the narrative outside of it, because reputation becomes the battlefield. And while you're trying to figure out what happened, trying to stay steady, trying to breathe, trying to keep your children safe, trying to keep your heart from collapsing, he's already telling the story. And the hardest part is that people believe them. It's that some of them just wanted to. Because believing you were the problem means they don't have to confront their own silence, their own participation, their own comfort in the system that hurt you. So they swallowed the version of him that looked like the victim while you held a grief that no one saw. But I want to say something slowly here. Let it land in your body. Being misunderstood does not mean you were wrong. Being misunderstood does not mean you were wrong. Being blamed does not mean you caused the harm. Being painted as the villain does not mean you were the one. Sometimes the truth is simple. It's just simply this. Your healing revealed what the relationship was always built on, and that truth was too heavy for others to face. So they chose the easier story, and you were left to carry the real one. That loneliness is real. It's sharp. It's heavy in the bones. It lives in the chest, behind the sternum, like pressure that doesn't release. And yet you are still here, which means your spirit did not break. It means the quiet strength inside you remained intact. Even when everything else was taken, you do not collapse, you endured, and now slowly you're reclaiming your life. And now we move to what? Part 5. I'm sorry, I already did part 5. I'm just so excited about this that sometimes I pass it up. And I know it becomes hard. I know you've gone through situations in your life that have been so tough. So tough. You know, the smear campaigns are brutal. You know. You're going to make it. Just like I did. But you will make it. I want you to know that you're very important. My next section is going to be that I want to give you some things for your day. I have 5 homework challenges for you. 1, identify 3 areas in your life where you've been silenced or devalued. 2, Set one small boundary this week that prioritizes your emotional safety. 3. Reach out to a supportive friend or mentor and share one truth about your journey. 4. Unsubscribe or remove yourself from one source of manipulation or negativity. 5. List 3 ways you're already shown courage in standing up for yourself. I bring you now the 5 journal prompts that I want you to write, especially for my journal people. 1. Write about a time someone dismissed your feelings. How did it affect your sense of self? 2. What does dignity mean to you? How can you practice it daily? 3. Reflect on your boundaries. Where have you been too lenient, too harsh? 4. Describe a moment when you felt truly seen and valued. How can you create more of these moments? 5. List 3 affirmations you can repeat to remind yourself of your worth. All these things are important because we want basic dignity in our lives. That's something that I believe a lot of women have been taken away from. And I don't know why. Especially for my Christian people. And if you're not, I want you to know that God made us in His image. And if that means we were made, then that means that we should all be respected, given basic dignity. If someone wrongs us, it'd be nice to have people who would stand up and say, no, you've wronged this individual, and now you have to face the consequences. And then it'd be nice to have that care that would be great for people who've gone through these types of traumas and abuse. Why? Because I'll tell somebody, if somebody's in a car accident, we don't tell that person that, oh, well, too bad, so sad. We're going to smear your name because you just don't know how to drive. And guess what? Now you're going to have to pick yourself up, clean your wounds, clean up everything, and make sure everything's done right. And then you're going to have to perform your own surgery. You will have to give yourself your own medicine, your own rehabilitation. And at the same time, you still have to act and sound and smile and act nice and pretty because you can't be hurt. And we're just going to blame you because you were the one who didn't know how to drive. And good for you because you chose the wrong car, wrong time, wrong, whatever they want to say. And it's your fault and we're not going to do it. But you know what? We're just going to let you also share all your stuff to the person who hit you. Because if you don't, then you will be punished. It sounds absurd when I say it that way, but this is how many of us women have been taught to handle what we've gone through. And I believe that if you've gone through this, you are a very strong woman. And I'm not saying that you went through it because that helped you become stronger. No, it's because you are a human being. What else did they want? For you to perish? I don't think so. Our God has made us so we survive. The human being always wants to survive. Why else is there so many health products? Why is there so many things that are telling you to live longer? Because that is what human beings do. And for other people to say, oh, just go and die in that corner, to any of your dreams or aspirations, or just to live or have basic human dignity is not right. I don't believe that's okay. I think you have just as much right to rise and shine. And as my times go by, I will add some more to my podcast, more of my stories, because I believe it's important for us to talk it all out. Because why? We deserve to grow. We deserve to be leaders. And I see myself now. I was never the follower. I was always a leader, but I always was trying to survive. So I people pleased so nothing bad would hurt me. Well, not anymore. Let's give you a beautiful 5-minute meditation. So then that way you can feel well. while we end this. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Inhale peace. Exhale attention. Imagine a warm, golden light surrounding your heart, reminding you of your worth. With each breath, feel the weight of judgment, manipulation, or control melt away. Repeat silently or even out loud. I am seen. I am heard. I am valued. My dignity is sacred. Repeat that again. I'm seen. I'm heard. I'm valued. My dignity is sacred. Visualize yourself standing tall, unshaken, protected by your boundaries and self-respect. Imagine the voices that try to silence you fading, and your inner voice growing stronger. Take one more deep breath, feeling the power of your courage and resilience. Open your eyes, carry this feeling with you, and remember, you will make it. You are my valued audience. You're cared for here. This is your safe zone. It's time for you to rise. It's time to start enjoying life. Being strong, it always won't be all happy roses, but as long as we're strong and we can hold on, we can walk through it because you're special. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Your Life Story. I hope it gave you something to think about, feel, or explore on your own journey. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share it with someone who might need it or reach out to connect. If you're looking for other deeper insights, let me know. Give me some information. I'd love to hear it. I love to prepare, shows for my followers. I think it's important. You're important. Thank you so much. This is Sajine, and I'll see you next time.